Chapter 176. Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes. Take this to Elder Yu and ask him to figure out the antidote for other poisons. Also, show me the list of medicinal ingredients that the evil doctor handed to the bloody arena. He wanted to see if that woman was the evil doctor or not. Yes. Bei Qing and Feng Yu were about to leave after receiving the order. At this moment, Yi Qianxian stopped them. Wait. He raised his hand and drew a portrait. It was Luo Qingtong's original appearance when she took off her mask in the Blackfield City Lord's mansion. That gorgeous and devilish face was 30% evil and 70% biting cold. The smile on his lips was wanton and carefree. He was really a beautiful young man. It was devilishly charming to the extreme. Bei Qing and Feng Yu took the portrait with cold sweat on their faces. What is Master doing? Didn't he say he was looking for that woman? Why did he draw a portrait of an enchanting young man for us? First, it was the evil doctor. Now, it's an enchanting young man. Master. Master, what's wrong with you? You can't be gay. However, Yi Qianxian couldn't hear their thoughts at all. Spread this picture to all the cities in the superior countries. No, all the cities in the intermediate countries and above. Let them take a closer look. Is there such a person? If there is, immediately report to me. Yi Qianxian was betting. He was betting that this face was the other party's true appearance. At that time, he would know who the evil doctor was. He was going to attack from both sides. He didn't believe that he couldn't find out the other party's true identity. Bei Qing and Feng Yu wiped their cold sweat and got up to leave. Yi Qianxian sat upright on the huge black throne. His face was slightly gloomy and his eyes were slightly narrowed. Let's see where you can escape to this time. In the Blackfield City Lord's mansion, Luo Qingtong still didn't know that her identity was about to be exposed. At this moment, she was in the hall, looking at a group of powerful battle slaves that she had gathered. These people were all purchased by her at the slave market. In addition to increasing the number of guards in her residence, it was also to increase the strength of the Luo clan. As the marquis of an inferior country, although the Luo family status was extraordinary, it was actually very awkward. Its current status was completely based on the engagement with the Tianyu Empire. And now Luo Qingtong wants to break off the engagement. Without the protection of the Tianyu Empire, the forces that had been suppressed by the Luo family would be ready to take action. In this world, it was always easy to add flowers to brocade, but difficult to provide timely help. Luo Qingtong wouldn't put her hope on the possibility that others wouldn't cause trouble for the Luo family. What she wanted was to control everything in her hands. Rather than hoping that others wouldn't come looking for trouble, it was better to be safe than sorry. She preferred to beat up all the people who came looking for trouble, so that they wouldn't dare to cause trouble again. I bought all of you from the slave market. Now, I'll give you two choices. 1. Leave Blackfield City with me. 2. Stay in the Blackfield City Lord's mansion and guard it. Luo Qingtong sat on the big chair made of rosewood. Her eyes, which had recovered, swept over the people present. Master, are you going to abandon us? The people who were questioned were very frightened. Especially those in the martial marquis realm. After seeing Luo Qingtong's power before, they had already regarded her as their only master. Even if they didn't want to surrender, they were completely eliminated by Luo Qingtong's series of means. But now, their master actually asked them to make a choice. Chapter 177. That's not it. Luo Qingtong's eyes drooped down slightly. I'm just giving you a chance. But whether you can grasp it or not, it's up to you. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. Of these two paths, one represents the supreme path. As for whether you are willing to take it or not, it's up to you to choose. If they were willing to leave the Blackfield City with her, then when they returned to the eastern border country, even if it was for the Luo family, she would not treat those slaves unfairly. Those people would be another secret force she would set up for the Luo family in the future. She would naturally pave the way for them in the future. As for those who stayed behind, since they chose the comfortable Blackfield city, it showed that they had no spirit to fight. Then they could only be like this in the future. But Luo Qingtong would not tell them this. Everything was up to these battle slaves to decide for themselves. I can only tell you that if you leave with me, it will be very dangerous. Maybe, you won't be able to keep your life. But if you stay in the Blackfield city, it will be relatively safe. You can choose for yourself. Luo Qingtong wore the Luo Sha mask and looked at them. Now, I will count to 3. Those who are willing to go with me, line up on the left. Those who want to stay, line up on the right. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she started counting calmly. 1. Her voice sounded, and the slaves' hearts were in a panic. They didn't know what this choice meant. Seeing that Luo Qingtong had counted to 2, many people suddenly gritted their teeth and chose according to their own ideas. 3. Luo Qingtong's voice stopped. She looked at the battle slaves who were already standing in front of her and nodded. Good. Those who choose to leave with me, now start to leave the city in batches. Luo Qingtong would not give the people in the Blackfield a chance to track her whereabouts. After these battle slaves had all made their choice, she immediately had them leave the city with their identities concealed. Anyway, there were so many slaves coming in and out of her mansion every day. She didn't believe that the Blackfield people would be so bored as to mark everyone. Everyone's eyes were fixed on him. They probably didn't even take these battle slaves seriously. You guys lead the team. Luo Qingtong looked at the martial lord experts and said. None of these people were willing to stay in the mansion in the Blackfield sub-city. They were all willing to leave with her. Very good. In the future, they would know that they had made the right choice. Master. At this moment, Chu Lingfeng stepped forward. He was originally standing behind Luo Qingtong and didn't need to make a choice. But now, he stepped forward and knelt in front of Luo Qingtong. Master, I want to stay in Blackfield City. As soon as Chu Lingfeng's words came out, Luo Qingtong immediately looked at him. Those martial Marquis realm battle slaves were also very surprised in their hearts. Could it be that this Chu Lingfeng was really a big idiot whose brain wasn't clear? Didn't he know Master's ability? Following Master's side, even if they would face danger, it also represented a huge opportunity. If Master casually gave them something, it would be enough for them to benefit endlessly. He actually didn't want to, but wanted to stay in Blackfield City. Reason. Luo Qingtong looked at Chu Lingfeng. She didn't believe that Chu Lingfeng was the kind of person who was greedy for life and afraid of death and coveted for ease. This big idiot had been very loyal and pure ever since he came back with her. Chapter 178. Master, I want to become stronger. Chu Lingfeng's silly face was full of disappointment. I'm too weak. I can't protect Master if I stay by Master's side. It's good to have a few of them by your side. As he spoke, he raised his hand and pointed to the martial lord experts at the front of the left. With them around, and Master being so powerful, nothing will happen to him. But if I stay by Master's side, I will only implicate Master. Chu Lingfeng tried his best to organize his words. I've thought for a long time. I don't have outstanding talent and my brain is not good. I'm stupid and stupid. How can I be useful to Master? As he spoke, he grinned at Luo Qingtong. I didn't sleep last night. I finally thought of it. Master, I'm not afraid of pain. I can take a beating. I'm not afraid of injury. Master. I'll be your shield from now on. With me here, no one can hurt you. So, I want to stay and go to the bloody arena. Only there can I grow. As Chu Lingfeng spoke, he kneeled a few steps in front of Luo Qingtong and whispered mysteriously, Master, you don't know, I have a secret. My body is strange. The more I take a beating, the stronger I become. A lot of people can't kill me. In the end, their strength becomes mine. Master, don't tell others. My mother said I can't let others know. As Chu Lingfeng spoke, he scratched his head. He didn't know if Master understood. But he knew since he was young that unless he was killed in one blow, he would slowly absorb the strength of those people who beat him. It could either repair his body or increase his strength. Mother said he can't tell others his secret. But Chu Lingfeng felt that Master was not others. Luo Qingtong's eyes softened. She didn't expect Chu Lingfeng to stay for this reason. This is good. With his special constitution, it was true that the bloody arena was the best place for him to train and improve himself, especially in a place where there were constant battles. This blockhead was really born to fight. Previously, when Luo Qingtong saw his wound, she found it very strange. She felt that his recovery ability was too strong. Who would have thought that there would be such a secret? Okay, then you can stay here. I'll talk to the bloody arena, Luo Qingtong said. Yes. Thank you, Master. Chu Lingfeng's mind was pure. He didn't think that his previous action of staying might make Luo Qingtong unhappy. Hearing that she had agreed, he instantly laughed mischievously, with a face full of disdain. The nearby martial lord realm battle slaves all sighed in their hearts when they saw this. Sigh. Truly, fortune favors fools. If it was someone else, they might have angered Master by making such a move. This blockhead sincerity actually made Master value him even more. But this kind of sincerity was something they couldn't learn. Who would have thought that Chu Lingfeng wanted to stay to enter the bloody arena? That kind of place was really not a place that martial cultivators who had the slightest ability would want to enter. After all, it was a matter of life and death. Only this blockhead, with his pure mind and wholeheartedly for Master, would make such a decision. The group was divided into two groups. Those who stayed behind were led by Chu Lingfeng. Chapter 179. Rumble. In the mountains outside the Blackfield city, a rumbling sound rose. A huge and beautiful flying boat rose into the air and stopped in front of them. The group of battle slaves who were preparing to leave with Luo Qingtong were stunned. Oh my God! The group of battle slaves were not people who did not know what was good for them. In this world, spiritual weapons were divided into 4 categories: mortal, human, earth, and heaven. Each category was divided into 9 grades. Luo Qingtong's flying boat was clearly an earth-grade spiritual weapon. But they did not know what grade it was. This was an earth-grade spiritual weapon that only the experts of the 4 great holy dynasties were qualified to possess. They did not expect Luo Qingtong to have such a flying boat. Their master's identity must be extraordinary. However, these battle slaves did not know that they had guessed wrong. When they arrived at Eastern Fence Country and found out Luo Qingtong's true identity, they realized how wrong they were. Their powerful and domineering master was actually the eldest daughter of a low-level country's marquis. This was impossible no matter how they looked at it. On the 3rd day after Luo Qingtong and the rest left, Chu Lingfeng came to the bloody arena with the letter left by Luo Qingtong. At this point, the people in the Blackfield city knew that the evil doctor had left. And there was no trace of her at all. Oh my God! My Lord Evil Doctor! Why did you leave just like that? After receiving the news, the Blackfield city lord wanted to cry but had no tears. God knew that he had just received news from the main city to keep an eye on the evil doctor and not make any mistakes. Now, it was not just a mistake, but a complete loss of her. The Blackfield City Lord's heart was stifled. Fortunately, Chu Lingfeng, that big blockhead, did not leave, which made him feel more at ease. The other party was personally saved by the evil doctor and arranged for him to enter the bloody arena to gain experience. It was impossible for her to ignore him. Thinking of this, the Blackfield City Lord wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and hurriedly reported this news to the main city. At the same time, in the Blackfield's main city, Mingzun Palace, Yi Qianxian also received the list of medicinal herbs that Luo Qingtong had given to the bloody arena. Looking at the words, Heaven's Jade Heart Fruit, the veins on Yi Qianxian's forehead throbbed. Evil, doctor, ghost, I. He gritted his teeth as he enunciated each and every word clearly. That woman wanted the exact same herbs, and so did evil Dr. Ghost Eye. How could there be such a coincidence? The heavens, most likely that evil doctor was that woman. However, during the previous few probings, the other party had always acted like a man, so Yi Qianren could not be completely sure. Damn it! That day in the city lord's manor, she shouldn't have been confused by his perfect eyes. He should have stripped off his clothes. That way, she would know whether he was a man or a woman. Yi Qianren's eyes were cold. He suddenly stood up. Prepare the spirit boat. I'm going to the eastern border nation's Black Region branch city. This time, he would definitely not let the other party escape. He would not allow her to play any tricks. However, just as he finished speaking, Bei Qing hurried in with an urgent report from the Blackfield City Lord. Master! The evil doctor has already left the Blackfield City Lord. Her whereabouts are unknown. He lowered his head and knelt on the ground to report carefully. Oh my God! The evil doctor had actually disappeared. Master was going to explode from anger. Sure enough, when he heard Bei Qing's report, Yi Qianxian directly crushed the armrest of his throne. Chapter 180. Yes. Bei Qing hurriedly replied. He was afraid that he would be crushed like the armrest of his master's throne if he agreed too late. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and left, muttering to himself along the way. Master is too concerned about this evil doctor, isn't he? Even if he has something to do with that girl, shouldn't Master be searching for that girl's whereabouts more closely? Why is he so fixated on the evil doctor the moment he woke up? Master, aren't you putting the cart before the horse? That girl is the main culprit. The evil doctor isn't her. Bei Qing screamed in his heart, wanting his master to realize his mistake as soon as possible. However, when he saw his master's dark face and the broken armrest, he silently swallowed his words. Feng Yu, do you think our master is he? After leaving the main hall, Bei Qing looked at Feng Yu, who was standing beside him, with a conflicted expression. He wanted to say something, but stopped himself. What is it? It's nothing. Feng Yu's lips twitched as he watched a certain figure walk out of the main hall. He kept winking at Bei Qing. Shut up, idiot. Master is coming out. However, Bei Qing, who was dense, didn't understand his meaning at all. Did our master really fall in love with the evil doctor? Why does he care so much about the evil doctor? He's obviously a shameless old man. Feng Yu, do you think our master is, Feng Yu, why are your eyes cramping so much? Are your lips twitching too? Did he have a stroke? You're the one who had a stroke. Your whole family had a stroke. Feng Yu looked at her master's face, which was so dark that ink could drip out of it. She couldn't help but cover her eyes. Bei Qing, this idiot. Moss. Master. Seeing Feng Yu's actions, Bei Qing's single-celled subordinate finally realized what was going on. He turned around and saw his master's dark expression. His face instantly turned green. Oh my God. Master. When did Master come? Feng Yu, that disloyal person, did not say anything to remind him. What's the use of just slapping his face? Master, Before Bei Qing could say anything, Yi Qianxian flicked his sleeves and walked past him. Strip him naked and throw him into the brothel. Without my order, no one is allowed to let him out. The cold voice sounded as if it came from the snowfield of the northern kingdom. Bei Qing jumped up from the ground in fright. Master! Master, don't! He didn't want to sell his body. Please change the punishment. Master! However, before he could catch up to Yi Qianxian, he was surrounded by Wind Feather and his men. Bei Qing, you know Master's temperament. She always means what she says. So. Wind Feather looked at him with an elegant smile. Do you want to do it yourself, or do you want us to do it? As he spoke, he twisted his fingers with a caw sound. This idiot, I've already reminded him, but he still wants to find trouble with Master. She had almost been implicated by him. Feng Yu felt that he must carry out Master's orders and teach Bei Qing a lesson. Wait, don't come over. Seeing Wind Feather and his men approaching, Bei Qing subconsciously turned around and tried to escape. However, he was swarmed by them and pressed to the ground. In an instant, he screamed in pain. Chapter 181. Yi Qianxian's anger had yet to subside when he returned to his sleeping quarters. He likes that woman. How could he possibly like that woman? Yi Qianxian had subconsciously linked the evil doctor to that woman. Now, he just needed to confirm it. At this moment, Yi Qianxian's heart was filled with anger because of Bei Qing's words. For so many years, there had been countless men and women who had liked Yi Qianxian, but he had never looked at any of them in the eye. Yi Qianxian's face turned cold as he thought about all those people who claimed to like him throwing themselves at him and doing disgusting things. If that was liking, then he definitely didn't like that woman. However, Yi Qianxian's heart was filled with irritation and anger when he thought about how that woman had escaped from his hands again. He didn't know why, but he just wanted to catch that woman and hold her in the palm of his hand. He wanted to see her arrogant, wanton, and extremely evil side become even more lively in front of him. That woman. He didn't know how many sides she had. She was bold and cunning, intelligent and quick-witted, and black-bellied and evil. She was truly ever-changing and impossible to guard against. Yi Qianxian's heart was filled with an indescribable emotion when he thought about how he had been repeatedly thwarted and taken advantage of by her. He fiercely gritted his teeth, "Don't let me catch you. Otherwise, I must get back all those things." Yi Qianxian himself didn't notice that when he mentioned Luo Qingtong, he was gnashing his teeth and feeling ashamed and angry. The only thing missing was murderous intent and murderous intent. If Bei Qing and the others were here, they would definitely be shouting in their hearts, "Master, do you have some misunderstanding about the word like? Isn't this what you call like? If it were anyone else, don't even talk about taking advantage of you, they would die if they even touched you." However, there was no one here, so no one knew what Yi Qianxian was thinking at this moment. Just as Yi Qianxian was thinking about catching Luo Qingtong, the latter had already brought a group of battle slaves she had bought and embarked on the journey back to Dongli country. Everyone, including Yi Qianxian, didn't expect that Luo Qingtong was actually from Dongli country. Because of this, all the Blackfield cities had received orders to search for the whereabouts of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Only Dongli country's territory was peaceful. After the city lord of the Eastern Fence Nation's Black Region Branch City reported the news of Luo Qingtong's departure, he guarded Luo Qingtong's residence wholeheartedly. He waited for the evil doctor to return so that he could inform his lord immediately. As to search for her whereabouts. How could someone like the evil doctor be from Dongli country? One had to know that even among the inferior countries, Dongli country was definitely at the bottom of the list. Evil doctor to Dongli I. Because of this, Luo Qingtong's journey was very smooth even when there was a huge wave of people searching for her outside. It could almost be described as pleasant. However, this feeling of contentment was quickly broken by a certain piece of news that he heard along the way. Hey, have you heard? The Luo family wants to break off the engagement with the Tianyu royal family and angered them. Now they are being suppressed everywhere. Life in Dongli country is very difficult. Isn't that so? Sigh. We heard about it too. The Luo family is also unlucky. Isn't it normal for the Luo family to break off the engagement after what the Tianyu royal family did? Do you want to see your granddaughter jump into the fire pit with your own eyes? I respect old Master Luo as a man. What a pity. Chapter 182. Hearing these voices, Luo Qingtong threw a piece of silver on the table and summoned a waiter. Here's a piece of silver. Tell me about the Luo family in Dongli State. Yes, sir. Looking at the piece of silver thrown on the table, the waiter's face lit up with joy. Sir, you're not from here, right? The news has been spreading around here for days. Alas. The Luo family is really unlucky. Ever since Master Luo went to Tianyu Empire to break off the engagement, the Luo family has been suppressed by various forces in Dongli State. Even the royal family of Dongli State summoned Master Luo to the palace and reprimanded him several times. They said it was for political and military affairs, but everyone knows that if the royal family of Tianyu State didn't say anything, they wouldn't dare to touch the Luo family. Isn't that a slap to the royal family of Tianyu State? Alas. But Master Luo is really stubborn. He won't change his mind. And he said in public that whether the royal family of Tianyu State agrees or not, he will break off the engagement. He will never let his granddaughter marry into the royal family of Tianyu State. That young lady of the Luo family is really lucky. She has such a grandpa who is wholeheartedly thinking for her. She is indeed very lucky. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she raised her hand and threw the silver to the waiter. Then, she took out another piece of silver and threw it over. And this is for you. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she led the group of battle slave experts and left. Sir. Customer, you're the one who just entered the store. Don't you want to eat? The waiter chased after her. Luo Qingtong didn't look back, no need. She was full of anger. What else could she eat? The royal family of Tianyu State. You guys are really great. Luo Qingtong's smile was cold. She didn't want to deal with them so soon. But since they couldn't wait, she would feel bad if she didn't follow their wishes. Then she would ask for some interest first. Let's see if they still have the time to deal with the Luo family. Take the spirit boat to Eastern Fence Nation's Windgate City and secretly protect the Luo clan. Don't let anyone humiliate them. Especially Grandpa Luo. Whoever dares to harm him, kill them all. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. Although the group of battle slaves didn't understand why, they naturally obeyed their master's orders. However, Master, is it just old Master Luo alone? If that was the case, then this mission would be simple. A few martial marquis experts, as well as a group of upper-middle-level great martial general experts, to protect the Luo clan, was not a trivial matter. The majority of the Luo clan cannot be harmed. But you don't have to protect the second branch of the Luo family. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. Now that the royal family of Tianyu had made a move against the Luo family, she didn't believe that Luo Xining and the others wouldn't do anything. She would deal with this family after she returned. Luo Xining had been jumping around for a long time. In a month's time, it would be the Empire of Qin's Tianyu branch examination. She probably couldn't wait any longer. She didn't know how much her strength had improved after she was taken away by the imperial family of Tianyu. If the improvement was too little, he would be disappointed. Luo Qingtong's smile was bloodthirsty and wanton. Luo Xining and the rest had better not participate in the attack against the Luo clan. If she found out that these people were helping outsiders to deal with the Luo clan, she would skin them alive. Yes. Chapter 183. Before Luo Qingtong left, she left them a token. In the event of an emergency, they could take the token directly to Grandfather Luo. The latter would believe their identities once he saw the token. However, Luo Qingtong felt that the people of Dongli might not dare to be so bold. After all, her engagement with Tianyu's imperial family hadn't been annulled yet. They could help Tianyu's imperial family embarrass the Luo clan, but they didn't have the guts to destroy the Luo clan. However, one had to be prepared for both eventualities, right? If the people of Dongli dared to lay a hand on Grandfather Luo, she would overturn the entire country and then attack Tianyu's imperial family. She would make them pay the price. Swoosh! After giving instructions, Luo Qingtong flew out of the spirit boat. The group of battle slaves went to Dongli according to her instructions, while she went to the imperial capital of Tianyu Empire. At the same time, Dongli's Blackfield branch welcomed a group of unexpected guests. May I ask if this is Evil Dr. Ghost Eye's residence? A group of well-trained people stopped at the entrance of the Evil Doctor's residence and asked respectfully. Yes. However, my master has gone out and is not in the residence. The battle slave in charge of guarding the gate nodded. The Evil Doctor is not here. The guard was taken aback when he heard this and subconsciously looked at the carriage behind him. What should they do? They'd escorted their young master all the way here to find Evil Dr. Ghost Eye for an antidote, but he wasn't here. When will Lord Evil Doctor return? If it wasn't too long, they could stay in the Blackfield branch and wait. I don't know. My master didn't say. The battle slave in charge of guarding the gate shook his head. The guard wanted to say something else, but a voice came from the carriage. Forget it. Since the Evil Doctor isn't here, we'll leave first. Please accept this invitation and give it to the Evil Doctor when he returns. Tell him that the House of Lanue invites the Evil Doctor to visit us. Please do not hesitate to come. The House of Lanue. Once those words were spoken, that battle slave's expression instantly turned cold. Clearly, he had heard of the Lanue family before. The Lanue aristocratic family was an extremely ancient aristocratic family of the Tianyu Empire. Even the imperial family of the Tianyu Empire couldn't compare to its background. This was especially true for the current generation of the Sleeping Moon family, where a super genius had appeared. Because of this, the House of Lanue's reputation resounded throughout the Empire of Qin. It was said that the Lanue family's foundation wasn't limited to this. It was just that most people didn't know about it. While the battle slave was in a daze, an invitation was handed out from the carriage. The purplish gold edges and the wax seal made the battle slave suck in a sharp breath. The purple gold invitation was the highest level of invitation the aristocratic families could give to outsiders. The Lanue aristocratic family actually invited Master with such courtesy. The battle slave hurriedly took the invitation. The people from the Lanue family bowed to him and left. Little Master, it's all right. When the Evil Doctor returns and receives the invitation, he will definitely come to our Lanue family. At that time, the poison in young Master's body will be cured. In the carriage, a cute little Shota looked back at the Evil Doctor's residence with reluctance. He turned back and shook his head. I'm not afraid of not being cured. He missed Fairy Sister. He didn't know if that Evil Doctor was really Fairy Sister. When he thought of the peerless girl who'd saved him on Dongli Nation's 9 Shaman Mountain, his eyes dimmed. Chapter 184. Tianyu Empire, Family Yenyu. Blackfield. Reading the news from the Blackfield sub-city of Dongli State, Yi Qinqian's eyes were cold. He sat on the throne expressionlessly and tapped on the armrest. The next second, he suddenly stood up. Prepare the spirit boat. We're going to the Tianyu Empire. It didn't matter whether the family Yanyu knew the evil doctor or not. It was always good to take a look. The highest level of invitation. It seemed that the family Yanyu was surprised by the family Yanyu. However, he had checked and found that the evil Dr. Gui Tong first became famous in the Blackfield sub-city of Dongli State. There was no information about him before that. In that case, how did the people of the Lanhua family find out about him? Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes. Just for this point, it was worth taking a look. It would be best if he could uncover the identity of the evil doctor. Speaking of which, the evil doctor was too good at hiding. That portrait had been circulated for so long, but there was no news about it. Thinking of this, the veins on Yi Qianxian's forehead bulged again. Yes. Master. Feng Yu answered and then stole a glance at Yi Qianxian. He coughed lightly and asked, Master, do we need Bei Qing to follow us this time? Bring her along. Yi Qianxian glanced at him and knew that he was pleading for Bei Qing. But the latter had been thrown into the brothel for several days. She should have been punished enough. Yes. Feng Yu answered and left, taking his men to the brothel. Bei Qing was still being trained in the brothel. Your fingers should be so curly. Like an orchid. Bei Qing. Are you going to stab the person you want to get information out of with your fingers? Slap. Bei Qing's hand was slapped. In an instant, his hair stood on end. Zuo Fei, you bastard. You hit me dozens of times today. I dare you to hit me again. Bei Qing was a big man who was 1.8 meters tall. He was only wearing a red gauze robe. Coupled with his angry expression, he was indescribably eye-catching. Opposite him, a charming and seductive man sat in front of him and sneered at him. This is what Master told me to do. Anyone who enters my espionage workshop is one of my subordinates. What? Do you want to eat and not work? Why do I keep you as a freeloader? And you eat so much. You even use buckets to scoop your rice. Anne. Zuo Fei glanced at him with a look of disdain. I didn't even say that you lowered the standards of the beauties here. What else do you have to say? You look like a bear. Bei Qing wanted He Fei's words, Uncle Zuo Fei s he you, Bei, he and you, he was. Him. Zuo Fei waved the feather fan in his hand and opened his thin lips when he saw that the young man was about to charge at him. Master. Bei Qing was immediately discouraged by his master's words. So arrogant, right? He lifted the hem of his gauze robe angrily, sat down at the table and raised his thumb and middle finger. My eyes. Zuo Fei looked at him and suddenly raised his fan to cover his eyes. Damn it. No one can stop me. I must kill him. Just as Bei Qing was about to kill him, Feng Yu and the others came. Ha, ha, ha. Looking at Bei Qing's charming appearance in her gauze dress, the crowd instantly burst into laughter, not caring about their image. Bei Qing, not bad. This outfit suits you very well. Ha, ha, ha. Get out of here. Bei Qing's face turned green. Did these bastards come to laugh at him? Don't. Master said you can go. Let's go to the Tianyu Empire. Feng Yu held back her laughter and caught his fist. Take off your clothes. Let's go. I don't need you to remind me. Bei Qing took off his gauze robe as fast as he could, put on a robe and ran away. Chapter 185. Tianyu Empire's Imperial Capital. Luo Qingtong walked down the street and looked around at the bustling buildings with a faint smile on her face. Tianyu Empire's imperial capital is quite prosperous. Compared to Dongli Empire, Tianyu Empire was more than 10 streets ahead of Wingate City. Hehe, it's good to be prosperous. You can cause trouble whenever you want. Master. My good master, how are you going to deal with Tianyu's imperial family? Little Pig was jumping around happily in Luo Qingtong's sleeve, his 4 little hooves stomping here and there. Causing trouble. I like it. It's great to follow such a decisive and vengeful master. Tianyu's imperial family is going to be in trouble. Would it be able to reap some benefits from this? Little Pig's heart jumped with joy at the thought of regaining some of his strength. Sigh, it's all my fault, otherwise, I wouldn't have turned into such a cute pet. Look at that pink little nose, look at those fluttering little ears, and then look at that pink appearance from head to toe. He doesn't look like a divine beast at all. If my previous opponents saw this, they would laugh themselves to death. I have to recover my strength as soon as possible. What's the hurry? Luo Qingtong's lips curled up. Since she came here, she naturally had her own plans. Tianyu's imperial family is definitely going to pay a heavy price this time. Luo Qingtong wasn't in a hurry to find trouble with Tianyu's imperial family. Know thyself and know thy enemy, and you'll never be defeated. She had to make a good plan to make Tianyu's imperial family suffer so much that they won't have time to find trouble with the Luo family. Luo Qingtong arrived at the most prosperous restaurant in Tianyu Empire's imperial capital, which was also the closest to the imperial palace. She picked the highest seat by the window and drank tea while looking at the magnificent imperial palace shrouded in the afterglow of the setting sun. At this time, Yi Qianqian's group also arrived at Tianyu Empire's imperial capital. They set off later than Luo Qingtong, but the Atlas spirit ship could travel 1,000 li in a day, so they quickly arrived at Tianyu Empire's imperial capital. Master, it's getting late. Why don't we have a meal here and stay the night? We'll pay the Lanhua clan a visit tomorrow morning, Feng Yu said to Yi Qianxian. All right, Yi Qianxian replied faintly. This time, the man was dressed in a white brocade robe. His black hair was tied up high, and his eyes were cold. That elegant and noble aura was embellished by the white robe, making him look like an immortal from the 9 heavens. However, it also carried an indescribable domineering aura. Yi Qianxian didn't use his identity as Ming Zun when he was outside, and he didn't wear his trademark dark gold mask either. When the group of people entered the restaurant, it instantly caused a commotion. Looking at this man who was like the clouds and the moon, as well as the peak of a mountain that was hard to look at, the noisy restaurant instantly quieted down. It was only when Yi Qianxian and the others went up to the private room on the top floor that the noise from below exploded again. Wow! Did you see that? The man in the lead was so handsome. He's really like an immortal from the heavens. Yes. And his aura is so amazing. The 2 attendants beside him are not weak either. It's so scary. They just glanced at me out of the corner of their eyes, and my legs are still shaking. I really don't know where this noble young master came from. This aura, I'm afraid only the direct descendants of the aristocratic families from the sacred dynasty can cultivate such an aura, right? There was a burst of whispers in the hall downstairs, all of them guessing Yi Qianqian's identity. The latter didn't deliberately reveal his aura, but the trace of aura that leaked out occasionally was enough to awe others and make them unconsciously focus their attention on him. Chapter 186. Oh my God! Luo Qingtong instantly turned around and covered her face with the wine glass. Holy shit! Why is that man here? Why is he here too? Damn it! Luo Qingtong felt gloomy and wished she could run away right now. This man must be my jinx. Why is he everywhere I go? She decided to come to Tianyu Empire's imperial city on the spur of the moment. How could she still run into him? Could her fate be any worse? What a pain in the ass. On the other side, Little Pig seemed to have sensed the aura hidden on Yi Qianren's body. It instantly laid down its 4 little hooves and curled up in Luo Qingtong's sleeve without making a sound. Oh my god. This woman ran into that man again. Luckily, the seal on my body has been broken. That man shouldn't be able to detect my whereabouts like he did in 9 Magi Mountain. As long as I behave myself, but what about this woman? I can't run away if she's exposed. Ah, something's wrong. This woman is in men's clothing now. What's there to be afraid of? You're a man now. Don't be afraid of him. Little Pig laid in her sleeve and whispered, "Don't be such a coward." Of course I'm a coward. Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth and replied, "Although I'm in men's clothing now, he saw my face at the Castellan's mansion in eastern border country's Blackfield City." In other words, as long as a man saw her current appearance, he would know she was Evil Physician Ghost Eye. So what? It's just Evil Physician Ghost Eye. He doesn't know you're the woman who poisoned him in 9 Magi Mountain. Why are you so nervous? Little Pig rolled its eyes. It was also nervous just now. Now that it thought about it, so what if it's Evil Physician Ghost Eye? That man won't hold on to me for dear life. Didn't you say he stopped suspecting you when he found your eyes intact? That's true. Luo Qingtong relaxed a little when she thought of this. At that time, that man had indeed stopped suspecting her. Luo Qingtong was still able to see through this. As for the matter of sneaking into the city lord's mansion and tricking that man again, he had already fainted at that time. It was impossible for him to know that it was hers. Luo Qingtong thought and heaved a long sigh of relief. It was all because of that man's suspicions. Her nerves were all tensed up. At this moment, Feng Yu walked over. "Master, let's sit here." Wind Feather went upstairs and looked around. All the good seats near the windows were almost full. There was another table beside Luo Qingtong's seat. She immediately said to Yi Qianxian. The man responded in a low voice and walked over with his hands behind his back. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she watched them sit down opposite her. Fortunately, she had been drinking with her head lowered, so Yi Qianxian and the others did not notice her. After Feng Yu sat down in Yi Qianxian, he called for the waiter to order some dishes and wine. Most of the people's gazes were focused on Yi Qianxian, but the man seemed to be oblivious to it. He leaned against the window with his eyes slightly downcast. His gaze was indifferent and cold as he watched the scene outside. Luo Qingtong also took advantage of everyone's gazes to secretly size him up from the corner of her eyes. The more she looked, the more she felt this man was truly a peerless evildoer. Even a casual pose was so eye-catching. Even though he didn't do anything, he was still able to attract people's gazes, making it impossible to remove them. However, Luo Qingtong also noticed that Yi Qianxian didn't wear a mask this time. He also didn't use any power to cover his face. It was obvious that he was walking around with his identity concealed. It's good to hide his identity. Chapter 187. Her gaze roamed around the man's body, and her mind was racing. To be honest, Luo Qingtong was very curious about the injuries on Yi Qianxian's body. The injuries on this man's body were the only ones that she couldn't see through. The more it was like this, the more curious Luo Qingtong was. In her previous life, she had traversed countries all over the world, and had special abilities in the ancient martial arts world. Because of this curiosity, she didn't know how many aristocratic families, sects, and powers she had destroyed because of this curiosity. She couldn't see through the injuries on this man's body. Now that she saw him walking around with a hidden identity, how could Luo Qingtong's heart not be tempted? Previously, this man was Ming Zun, and she couldn't get close to him. Now that he was hiding his identity, could she pretend not to know his identity, and brush up on his favorability, and see his internal injuries. Luo Qingtong thought, and in a flash, she went through this matter in her heart. It's feasible. In any case, although this man had seen her face, he only knew that she was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It's good that he knew. It also saved her the trouble of finding an excuse to see his injuries. Luo Qingtong thought like this, and immediately put down the wine cup in her hand, and walked over to Yi Qianxian. This brother's temperament is like the wind and the moon, making people admire you very much. I don't know if I have the honor of drinking with this brother at the same table. Luo Qingtong's eyes were quick-witted. Just when she got up, she had already activated the trace of power that Tian Mingzi left in her eyes, and restored her eyes. The young man's face was enchanting and gorgeous, and his pair of clear eyes were extremely pure and clean. The light flowing in his eyes was crafty and quick-witted, giving people an indescribable feeling of wanting to explore. That temperament of his was even more unscrupulous, but it didn't make people dislike him. Instead, it made people feel that this person was very interesting. She moved closer to Yi Qianxian's side, completely ignoring the aura that kept people away from him, and looked at him with a smile. "Brother, how is it?" Yi Qianxian's eyes were deep and serene. He watched as Luo Qingtong stood beside him and put her hand on his shoulder without any hesitation. His heart felt very strange. He didn't expect to find him so quickly, and in such a way. Hadn't this woman, no, this evil doctor always been afraid of him? When they saw him, they were like mice that had seen a cat. Don't even mention how fast they ran. Yi Qianxian recalled his interactions with Luo Qingtong and realized that both the evil doctor and that woman would run as far away as possible from him. She had used all kinds of tricks just to escape from his hands. But now, it had taken the initiative to deliver it to him. Yi Qianxian looked at the young man in front of him, unable to react. He had completely forgotten about his decision to capture the young man the moment he saw him and interrogate him to find out his identity. Luo Qingtong was not annoyed by his silence. This man was just like that. She was used to it. She smiled and sat down beside Yi Qianxian. "Brother, if you don't say anything, I'll take it as a yes," Luo Qingtong said as she poured herself a glass of wine. She smiled and raised her glass to Yi Qianxian, saying, "I wonder where you're from. How should I address you?" She's truly charming, making people admire her from the bottom of their hearts. She wanted to get close to Yi Qianxian, so of course, she had to flatter him. Of course, she wasn't wrong. Yi Qianxian had always been charming. Luo Qingtong could vaguely see that Yi Qianxian had slightly altered his appearance. If he revealed his real appearance, the impact would be more than 10 times greater. Chapter 188. However, Luo Qingtong didn't expect that with her current appearance as a man and her current actions, she would say such frivolous words. Rather than praise, it would be better to say that she was flirting with Yi Qianxian. However, the heavens took pity on her. Luo Qingtong really didn't have that intention. She was seriously praising Yi Qianxian and wanted to build a good relationship with him, okay? Hiss. Seeing this outstanding youth's actions, many people around them gasped. This man wasn't someone to be trifled with. This youth actually dared to strike up a conversation with him. His words were so frivolous and indescribable. His courage was truly commendable. Feng Yu and Bei Qing were also stunned by Luo Qingtong's boldness. Oh my God! Was this youth courting death? When Yi Qianxian hid his identity outside, there was no lack of men and women who were attracted by his appearance to strike up a conversation with him. But those people, without exception, all of them died very miserably. They didn't expect this youth to be even bolder than them today. He even put his hand on their master's shoulder. They watched as Luo Qingtong smiled and moved closer to Yi Qianxian. She raised her cup as if she was familiar with him and wanted to drink with him. They couldn't help but raise their hands to cover their faces. This youth is dead meat. However, after waiting for a long time, they didn't hear any screams or cries from the youth. Instead, they heard their master's voice ring out. Admiration. Yi Qianxian played with the wine cup that Luo Qingtong had stuffed into his hand. His eyes darkened as he looked at her. This woman had said these two words twice. Was she trying to emphasize something? Yes. Luo Qingtong didn't know that Yi Qianxian had misunderstood her meaning. She immediately nodded her head. How can a celestial being like brother not make people admire you? I'm sure there are many people around here who have the same thoughts as me. Luo Qingtong simply opened her mouth and said such flattering words. In any case, flattery didn't cost money. Moreover, this man was indeed worthy of this praise. Didn't they see the envious gazes that were cast at her from all directions after she sat down with the other party? However, Luo Qingtong didn't expect that the man would be so easy to approach after hiding his identity. He had done the right thing today. Luo Qingtong secretly gave herself a thumbs up for today's wise decision. If he missed this opportunity, he didn't know when he would be able to meet this incognito man again. Is that so? She did not pay attention to Luo Qingtong's last words. Yi Qianren's attention was all on her first sentence. So it was because of admiration. Was that why she took the initiative to approach him and appear in front of him? Yi Qianxian's heart stirred slightly as he looked at the young man in front of him. The latter's face was gorgeous and enchanting. Her squinting eyes and smiling appearance made her look indescribably cunning and willful, agile and threatening. Did she think that he didn't recognize her? So after she changed her identity, she directly appeared in front of him as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. She clearly knew his true identity, yet she still dared to provoke him again and again. So fearless of death. Did she like him that much? Yi Qianxian thought and frowned. He didn't like those who liked him to deliberately approach him, but if it was this woman. Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong's evil and clever expression and suddenly felt that he could accept it. As long as she didn't run away, he could allow her to stay by his side. Chapter 189. Yi Qianxian, my name. He raised his hand and took a sip of the wine in his cup. Seeing how infatuated you are, I will allow you to know my name. I will allow you to drink with me at the same table. For some reason, Yi Qianxian felt very comfortable knowing that Luo Qingtong liked him. It turned out that this woman liked him so much. So she didn't dare to approach him before because of his identity as the underworld senior. Since that was the case, he could forgive her for her previous disrespect. After all, he was the underworld senior and had a noble status. It was normal for this woman to be worried and afraid to approach him. Was she afraid that he would be unhappy or even put her in a disadvantageous position if he knew? Thinking about how Luo Qingtong tried to escape in every possible way before, Yi Qianxian's anger dissipated a lot. His plan to capture her as soon as he found her also changed a little. Oh! Brother Yi! Luo Qingtong felt a burst of happiness in her heart. Yi Qianxian, who hid his identity, was much easier to approach than she thought. She even asked for his name. Would it be long before she could see his injuries? Her heart was restless as she seized the opportunity and said, "This little brother is called Xia Tong. Brother Yi can call me Xiao Tong in the future." Humph. Yi Qianxian lightly snorted. This woman was really cunning. What Xia Tong, wasn't it just the abbreviation of evil Dr. Gui Tong? He let her approach him and even told her his name. She actually used a fake name to fool him. Yi Qianxian was slightly angry as he thought about it. He looked at her coldly. "Xia Tong. Evil Dr. Gui Tong. Your name is strange." Did she really think that he didn't know her true identity? Cough cough. Brother Yi knows me. Luo Qingtong pretended that she really didn't know anything. She didn't know that this man was the underworld senior and didn't know that he knew her. She deliberately said the name Xie Tong. Otherwise, how could she logically reveal her identity as an evil doctor and treat his injuries? After all, from the way she was acting now, she didn't seem to know this man. I can't let him see that I'm pretending. Humph. Yi Qianxian snorted. This woman was really cunning. His acting was so real. If he did not know that she was the woman from the Nine Magi Mountain and had seen her real appearance, he would have thought that she did not recognize him. Yi Qianxian's expression did not change, but he said coldly, "Of course I know. The entire black field is looking for you, evil Dr. Ghost Eye." Cough cough. Hearing his words, Luo Qingtong choked on the wine in her mouth. It can't be, right? The black field is looking for her everywhere. Didn't that mean that this man was looking for her everywhere? Luo Qingtong felt an inexplicable sense of foreboding. Why was this man looking for her everywhere? Didn't he dispel his suspicions about her? Could it be that when he went to the city lord's mansion to steal the medicine, something went wrong and he was exposed? Luo Qingtong felt guilty as she thought about it. She looked at the handsome face of the man in front of her and suddenly felt that she had dug a hole and buried herself. She couldn't have done something stupid and delivered herself to his doorstep, right? Ha, ha. Really? That. I really don't know. Luo Qingtong gave a hollow laugh. She quickly changed the topic. Brother Yi, what are you doing in the Tianyu Empire? Chapter 190. To capture someone. Yi Qianxian replied concisely. That pair of cold eyes stared at Luo Qingtong just like that. Hee hee. Luo Qingtong felt her hair stand on end from his stare. She couldn't have exposed herself, right? But Luo Qingtong went over everything that happened in the Blackfield City Lord's manor. She couldn't find any flaws. Previously, she had indeed dispelled this man's suspicions. Later, when she sneaked into the city lord's manor to steal medicine, she didn't expose herself from beginning to end. Even when she was treating his injuries, he fainted. There was no one in the bath hall and she walked very quickly. This man shouldn't have discovered her. Luo Qingtong felt a lot more relieved. Just as she was about to probe this man again, Yi Qianxian suddenly looked away. He took the wine cup in her hand, poured a new cup, and handed it to her. What's wrong? Drink. Didn't you say you wanted to drink with me? The man held the wine cup and leaned back on the chair. His posture was languid and noble. Yi Qianxian wasn't in a hurry to expose Luo Qingtong's identity. He wanted to let this woman think that he hadn't seen through her. In addition, he wanted to see how long her eyes could hold on. Compared to directly exposing this woman's identity, Yi Qianxian was more willing to see Luo Qingtong expose herself. Humph. Let's see where she can run this time and what tricks she can play. Yi Qianxian snorted. His eyes darkened and he directly drank the wine cup in his hand. Oh. Luo Qingtong looked at the wine cup in her hand and then looked at Yi Qianxian's indifferent expression. She couldn't help but wonder if she was too nervous and overthinking things. This man shouldn't have discovered her identity. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so indifferent. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong let go. Okay. Brother Yi, please. It was rare that this man was willing to let someone get close to him, so she had to seize this opportunity. However, this man was so vigilant. How could she make him agree to let her see his wound? Luo Qingtong thought to herself as she drank. The two of them had their own thoughts, but on the surface, they were toasting each other as if they were old friends at first sight and regretted not having met earlier. They drank merrily. On the other side, Feng Yu and Bei Qing, who had been completely abandoned, were staring blankly. Feng Yu, I. Am I seeing things? Quick. Hurry up and pinch me. Bei-ching was stuttering as he spoke. Oh my God. The man who was drinking with the evildoer youth until his brows were relaxed and the corners of his lips were slightly raised was their master? How was this possible? His eyes must be damaged. Furthermore, that young man was actually an evil doctor. How was this possible? Wasn't the evil doctor a shameless old man? How could it be the demonic youth in front of him? But then again, that young man's face was indeed very familiar. Bei-ching racked his brains and quickly remembered that the young man in the portrait that his master had asked them to send to the middle country of the Black Field to search for him was the face of this young man. Oh my God. No wonder they were wondering why their master was paying attention to a young man for no reason. So, he was the evil doctor? Bei-ching was shocked. For some reason, she felt as if her world had been turned upside down. But wait. This wasn't the point. The point was, when had their master ever smiled at someone like this? Bei-ching looked at the faint smile on Yi Qianqian's face. She was completely shocked. Chapter 191. Brother Yi, you already know who I am. This younger brother doesn't have anything to give to Brother Yi. Why don't I take a look at Brother Yi? Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian drank one cup after another for a while and gradually felt a little tipsy. This man was completely different from when he was hiding his identity and when he was Ming Zun. If she didn't have her eye technique and had seen this man's true appearance, she would have thought that he was someone else impersonating him. Seeing that time was passing little by little, Luo Qingtong felt that the trace of power in her eyes was slowly dissipating. She immediately took advantage of her drunkenness and proposed to take a look at the man. Otherwise, if this continued, she wouldn't be able to hold on. All right. Looking at the young man in front of him who had become even more devilish and wanton due to the influence of alcohol, Yi Qianxian's eyes darkened. Yi Qianxian expressed that he was very happy that Luo Qingtong was still thinking about his injuries at this time. This woman really liked him very much. Not only did she take the initiative to get close to him, but she was also thinking about his injuries. As Yi Qianren thought of this, his heart was filled with joy. There was also a tinge of joy in his pair of cold eyes. Take a look. He stretched out his wrist. Luo Qingtong saw that he was so cooperative and her heart was immediately overjoyed. She roughly estimated in her heart that the trace of power in her eyes could last for about half an hour, which was 2 to 3/4 of an hour. It was enough for her to examine the man's injuries. This kind of opportunity wasn't easy to find. Previously, when she examined the man's injuries, he was unconscious. She didn't know if it was because of this that her eye technique didn't find any clues. Then Brother Yi, I'll start. Luo Qingtong said as she put her finger on the man's pulse. When the two people's skin touched, Yi Qianqian's body trembled slightly. He inexplicably felt a strange feeling in his heart. He turned his head to look at Luo Qingtong and then at the place where her fingers were pressing on his pulse. He was slightly stunned. Luo Qingtong only touched him lightly. Why did he feel so strange? Her heart seemed to be beating a little fast. Yi Qianxian frowned. While he was troubled by his own feelings, Luo Qingtong also quickly began to check the injuries in his body. Luo Qingtong tried her best to control herself and not send her power into the man's body. Every time she sent her power into the man's body, she would bring his power back and then level up uncontrollably. Everything depended on his ocular technique. Anyway, she didn't need to mend the man's meridians right now, so she could just watch. She lowered her head slightly, hiding the red light in her eyes from using the eye technique. She quickly scanned the man's body. Under Luo Qingtong's ocular technique, the man's meridians, bones, and blood vessels were reflected in Luo Qingtong's eyes in a strange way. It was like a miniature scanner, scanning Yi Qianxian from top to bottom and left to right. It also had its own X-ray vision and various numerical values. Luo Qingtong operated her ocular technique with all her might. This was the first time she used her ocular technique without holding back since she transmigrated. This time, it was unknown how many times more difficult it was than when she used it to examine the poison. This man's physique was too inhuman, right? Chapter 192. What AF * King Husky? Luo Qingtong had never encountered such a situation in her previous life. In the past, which ability user's strength could not be seen through by her. Even during a battle, she could adjust her attack according to the opponent's weak points at any time. An ocular sorcerer's strength was all-encompassing. Currently, Luo Qingtong's ocular sorcerer's ability was not obvious yet. In the future, as her mental strength increased, her ocular sorcerer's ability would become stronger and stronger. In her previous life, she was a supreme ocular sorcerer. In the 24th century on Earth, no ability user could escape the detection of her ocular sorcerer. Damn it, she could not see through this man at all. Luo Qingtong was very depressed in her heart. However, she did not forget her real purpose this time. If she could not see through him, then she would not look at him for the time being. She would find another opportunity in the future. She would look again when her strength increased. She did not believe that she could not find out this man's limit. Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth and concentrated all her ocular sorcerer's power on Yi Qianxian's meridians. However, with one look, damn it. This man's meridians and the strength of his bones and flesh were two extremes. Luo Qingtong looked at the few pitiful numbers that appeared in her eyes and suspected that she had seen wrongly. However, she raised her head and looked at the man in front of her, then looked at his meridians. She was very sure that those pitiful numbers were the strength of this man's meridians. Damn it! It can't be. The strength of his meridians was not even comparable to hers. Although her physical fitness had undergone the baptism of the 9-story exquisite pagoda and the life and death sword, her physique was not to be underestimated and far surpassed that of most experts. However, with this man's strength, it was impossible for his meridians to be so weak. The more one cultivated, the stronger their meridians. This was the principle of cultivation in this world. Why did this man do the opposite? Moreover, his meridians were so weak. How did he display the strength that could even destroy a heavenly beast? Luo Qingtong was at a loss. Damn it, she had purposely approached this man in order to thoroughly investigate the strangeness of his internal injuries. Now, not only did she fail to find out anything, she had even dug herself deeper. What the hell was going on? Why were the meridians in this man's body so strange? This was definitely not caused by someone else. How did he end up like this? Luo Qingtong's curiosity was like being scratched by a cat. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't reveal her identity, she would have dragged this man in front of her and interrogated him about what was going on. My heart is so tired. The answer to the riddle was getting further and further away from him, wasn't it? Luo Qingtong didn't give up and wanted to check again. However, at this time, the trace of power in her eyes was in danger. At most a quarter of an hour, the trace of power in her eyes would disappear completely. No, I can only look at it next time when I have the chance. Thinking of this, she reluctantly withdrew her hand. The touch of her finger on his skin made Yi Qianxian's body tremble slightly, and the strange feeling in his heart became stronger. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt that this woman would be fine even if she kept putting her hand on his wrist. Chapter 193. Are you sure? Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong with a deep gaze. Brother Ye's body is fine. He's very healthy. Luo Qingtong reluctantly withdrew her gaze. She couldn't see anything this time. How stifling. While she was feeling depressed, Yi Qianqian's lips curled up. This woman was truly devoted to him. Seeing Luo Qingtong's disappointed expression when she let go of his wrist, Yi Qianxian felt very comfortable. At this moment, he heard Luo Qingtong's voice. "Sorry, Brother Yi, I suddenly remembered that I still have something to do. Let's drink again next time. This little brother will take his leave first." As soon as she said this, Yi Qianqian's expression suddenly sank. This woman, is she going to run away again? After experiencing this kind of thing several times, Yi Qianxian didn't believe Luo Qingtong's words at all. He snorted coldly and raised his hand to press down on her shoulder, pushing her back. "What's the rush? We haven't had enough to drink yet. If there's anything, I'll go with you to explain later. Just say that we hit it off at first sight and were delayed. How about it?" Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong with a deep gaze. He pressed down on her shoulder with a little force so that she couldn't get up. "Or are you saying that you're not willing to give me this opportunity? When you said that you admired me and wanted to drink with me, was that also a lie?" Yi Qianqian's voice was cold. This woman was in such a hurry to leave. Her eyes must be showing signs of something. He was going to sit here and watch her expose herself. Luo Qingtong was pushed back into her chair by Yi Qianxian. Her heart was like 10,000 galloping horses. Holy shit! What's wrong with this man? He's not letting me go. Luo Qingtong felt a wave of unease in her heart. Could it be that her previous premonition was right? This man had really seen through her identity. Luo Qingtong carefully sized up the man's expression. However, Yi Qianxian didn't do anything other than push her back into her seat. She couldn't tell if he had seen through her identity under the evil doctor's ghost eyes. No. Regardless of whether this man saw through it or not, she couldn't stay here any longer. Otherwise, when the time came and her eyes returned to their blind state, her disguise would be exposed even if she didn't. Thinking about it, Luo Qingtong looked at Yi Qianxian and smiled. "Brother Yi, what are you thinking? I really have something to do. But since Brother Yi invites me so sincerely, I can only risk my life to accompany you." As she spoke, she picked up the wine glass on the table. "So, let's get drunk today." Yi Qianren looked at her with narrowed eyes. All right. He wanted to see what other tricks this woman had up her sleeves. No return until we're drunk. She'd be exposed in a while. If Yi Qianxian could guess it, how could Luo Qingtong not be aware of it? She felt bitter as she watched the time slowly pass. Damn, this man was a big pervert. Luo Qingtong felt gloomy when she thought about how he sent someone to guard her when she said she wanted to go to the outhouse. At this time, she was 100% sure that this man was suspecting her again. And he was waiting for her to expose herself. Damn, life was so miserable. If she had known, she wouldn't have taken the initiative to provoke this man. I don't know where he got the clue from, but why is he suspecting me again? Chapter 194. Humph. That brat just now really didn't know how to appreciate favors. It's his fortune that I took a liking to him. How dare you disobey? How infuriating. That's right. That guy really doesn't know how to appreciate favors. But why are you so angry, Crown Prince? He's just a good-looking young man. In the future, we'll find a few more for you. I guarantee that their looks won't be inferior to his. A group of people came in noisily from the outside. All of them were drunk and entered the outhouse at the side. That's right. Prince, don't be angry. With your status as Prince Chunzhou's prince, the brat didn't obey because he didn't have the fortune. I just can't take it lying down. Suddenly, Luo Qingtong heard someone say, actually, it would be great if we could get hold of the peerless young man in red and the handsome man beside him. Sigh. That feeling must be asterisk 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 asterisk. Yes. Looking at their figures and postures, they were definitely kindred spirits. Seeing that the young man had left his seat, the elegant and peerless man in white didn't forget to ask his attendants to guard him. He knew that the relationship between them was definitely not simple. TSK, what a pity. Those two are not people we can touch. A red-clothed youth and a white-clothed man. Why did he send someone to follow him when he left the banquet? Luo Qingtong lowered her head and looked at the red clothes she was wearing. Her lips twitched. *T. Wasn't that referring to her and that damned man? Those two, burp, they are indeed graceful and peerless. However, the aura of the man in white was too strong. He was not an ordinary person at all. What are you doing? Before Prince Chunjo could finish his words, the latrine door was kicked open with a bang. He hurriedly pulled up his pants that he hadn't taken off in time. He turned his head and was about to curse, but Luo Qingtong hooked her arm around his neck and dragged him out of the room. The rest of the people in the outhouse rushed out after hearing the noise. Air! Release the crown prince. Sure. Aya, don't be so nervous. Luo Qingtong raised her finger and shushed them. Her devilishly beautiful face was filled with a devilish smile. She hooked her arms around Prince Chunjo's neck and said with a smile, "Just now, I was in the outhouse next door and heard all of your words." Who would have thought? To think that he would meet such a fellow player who knew how to play. It's really, to my liking. Young master, please spare, That Chunjo prince's heir apparent was pulled out of the latrine by Luo Qingtong's arm around his neck. Just as he was about to beg for mercy, hearing what was said, he stared blankly. Young master, you mean, Prince Chunjo looked at Luo Qingtong with surprise and joy. He originally thought that Luo Qingtong had pulled him out to beat him up. He didn't expect the other party to have such a look of admiration for him. Could it be that this young master actually liked to play like this? And he didn't reject anyone. Wasn't this a meat pie that fell from the sky? Thinking that he could have sex with such a peerless, devilishly beautiful young man, Prince Chunjo's heart was fluttering. His gaze towards Luo Qingtong was like a hungry wolf. That's right, it's exactly what you think. Luo Qingtong looked at them with a devilishly charming face. Chapter 195. That Prince Chunjo's saliva is about to drip out. Oh my god. Not only this peerless beautiful young man, but that indescribably handsome man also likes to play like this. You really can't judge a book by its cover. His face is filled with excitement as he pats his chest. Violence is definitely not a problem. I'm the most violent. Thinking about how he relies on his father's power in Tianyu Imperial City to bully men and women, if he dares to say he's number one, no one dares to say they're number two. He definitely meets the requirements. Compared to this devilishly beautiful young man, that man who clearly had a piercingly cold and elegant temperament was a character he had never met before. To be able to go through thick and thin with that one time, he's willing to die. Oh, really? Luo Qingtong has an evil smile as she looks him up and down. But that big brother of mine isn't an ordinary person. Like you, even if all of you work together, you might not be able to beat him. How can you be violent? If you're not violent enough, that big brother of mine won't be happy and won't do as you wish. That's not a problem. That Prince Chunjo pats his chest loudly. I can mobilize the elites of the 5 cities wardens department. That's definitely violent enough, right? For that handsome man with a biting cold aura, valiant and domineering aura, he's going all out. At most, he'll be beaten up by his father again. In any case, his father only has him as his only child, he definitely won't dare to beat him to death and end his family's bloodline. Oh. So it's like this, ah. Luo Qingtong's eyes brighten. She didn't expect this Prince Chunzhou's son she casually caught to be so awesome. This hedonist index is very high, ah. Okay. I'll invite that big brother of mine over in a bit. You guys prepare the troops. Right, what is the best way to make Tianyu's imperial family suffer the most? For the last sentence, Luo Qingtong has already used her eye technique's soul-absorbing ability. Originally, she wanted to slowly inquire about Tianyu's imperial family and see how to deal with them. But now that that man is here, Luo Qingtong has no choice but to end this quickly. Otherwise, if she's caught by that man, there will be no end to it. Especially what she's doing right now, that man will probably be angered to death. Luo Qingtong's lips fiercely twitches as she thinks. Forget it, Tianyu's imperial family's luck. Okay. The crown prince of Prince Chunzhou happily agreed and was about to go look for her. When he turned around, Luo Qingtong patted him. When he turned around, he saw her eyes that were flashing red like a demon. Under the influence of Luo Qingtong's eye technique, the other people's brains slowed down for a second. Before he could react, his mind was already in a mess. The Imperial's good. Done to end. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She raised her hand and patted Prince Chunzhou's body. The latter immediately returned to normal. 2. Tianyu's. Why is he still here? To go. Let's go. That pure ninth crown prince's face was somewhat dazed, and those lackeys beside him also looked like they had just woken up from a dream. The group of people did not discover anything and just ran away in a hustle and bustle. Luo Qingtong looks at them running away in a hurry. She smiles and crosses her arms in front of her chest as she walks out. Let's go. She looks at Bei Qing, who is squatting outside, and the smile on her face is indescribably enchanting. Chapter 196. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she hooked her arm around Bei Qing's shoulder and pulled him out. When the two of them returned to the dining area, Yi Qianxian looked up and saw the two of them walking over with their arms around each other's shoulders. Suddenly, he stared coldly at the spot where their bodies touched. For some reason, he suddenly felt that Bei Qing's shoulder was an eyesore. That woman had never been so close to him before. At most, she would just touch his shoulder. Now, more than half of them were standing next to Bei Qing. The latter was stared at by his master's cold gaze and instantly felt all the hair on his body stand on end. Oh my God. Master's gaze is so scary. I didn't do anything. Why is Master staring at me like that? Bei Qing wanted to cry but had no tears. He felt that his life would be difficult when he went back. But what did he do wrong? Master should know the reason why he died. Feng Yu, on the other hand, noticed something and went over to pull him over. I thought you fell into the pit when you went to the toilet. Yi Qianxian looked coldly at Luo Qingtong and said, your alcohol tolerance can't be that bad, right? Pretend. You're still pretending. You're obviously suspecting my identity. You're just waiting for me to expose myself. You're still pretending that you don't know anything. Fine. You act, I'll act, we'll act. Let's see who can act better. Luo Qingtong had a fake smile on her face. She sat down and said, it's nothing. Brother Yi and I hit it off at first sight. When I went to the toilet, I was thinking about Brother Yi even when I was looking at the feces in the pit. I couldn't help but stay in there for a while. Brother Yi, you don't mind, right? Cough, cough, cough. When Luo Qingtong said this, Bei Qing and Feng Yu almost choked on their own saliva. Oh my God. Is the evil doctor doing this on purpose, or does she not know how to speak? What does she mean by thinking about Master even when he was looking at the feces in the pit? Isn't she saying that Master is like, the same? The two of them coughed violently as they stole glances at their master. Yi Qianqian's expression froze for a moment when he heard Luo Qingtong's words, but he quickly adjusted himself. This woman had many tricks up her sleeves. Yi Qianxian had experienced it several times, so he had developed some resistance to it. It was not that easy for Luo Qingtong to disgust him. You seem to be in good spirits. I hope you can continue to be in good spirits. Yi Qianqian's voice was cold. This woman was still stubborn even now. He wanted to see how long she could keep her stubborn mouth shut. Luo Qingtong was disappointed that she failed to disgust Yi Qianxian. This man's evolution speed was comparable to a digital Tyrannosaurus Rex. She was starting to suspect that the pure and beautiful man she had met before was just an illusion. But soon, Luo Qingtong pulled herself together. Because she heard the hubbub of voices outside. Looks like that Prince Chunjiu's heir had called the people from the 5 cities warden's office over. Luo Qingtong took a look outside and instantly grinned. Then I thank Brother Yi for your auspicious words. Oh right, I know a few friends. Why don't I introduce them to Brother Yi? Come come come. Brother Yi. Come over here. Luo Qingtong pulled Yi Qianxian up and walked out with a smile. Yi Qianxian saw her pulling his hand and was distracted for a moment before he was pulled out by her. It was simply too easy to find the private rooms of those hedonistic sons. Chapter 197. At this moment, Prince Chunjiu and the others were waiting impatiently in the private room. AI, do you think that peerlessly beautiful young man will come? Is he trying to trick this prince? He rubbed his hands and fidgeted in the private room. Everyone looked at each other and didn't know how to answer. Prince, is there any meaning in this? Even if that young man is trying to trick you, do you dare to rush over and argue with them? The man in white and his 2 attendants were obviously not to be trifled with. As a debauchee, especially a debauchee who can run amok and not die, these people naturally have their own standards for judging people. They were very clear about who they could provoke and who they couldn't. It was obvious that the man in white and that peerlessly beautiful young man were existences that they couldn't provoke. Regarding this point, these people were very clear in their hearts. Otherwise, they would have rushed over to seek death. How could they wait for Luo Qingtong to come and find them? Really? This prince is anxious to death. He has already been called over, that devilishly beautiful young man better not stand him up. Otherwise, he would be beaten up by his father for nothing. Just as Prince Chunjiu was anxiously waiting, Luo Qingtong brought Yi Qianxian into the private room. Hello everyone. I brought my brother Yi, have fun everyone. Luo Qingtong smiled at Yi Qianxian. The next second, she ran away. You! Yi Qianming subconsciously chased after her. Oh. Beauty! I'm coming. Seeing that Luo Qingtong really brought him over, Prince Chunjiu was very excited. He rushed towards Yi Qianxian. At the same time, he waved his hand. Everyone, let's go together. He didn't forget that the young master said that his big brother liked to be simple and violent. And the more violent, the better. Under Prince Chunjiu's command, his lackeys immediately rushed towards Yi Qianxian. They were all fearless. It was as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Beauty! Just submit to me. I promise I'll be rough. Prince Chunjiu howled as his fat body pressed down on Yi Qianming. The latter was caught off guard. His line of sight towards Luo Qingtong was blocked, and he lost sight of her. Bang bang bang. Yi Qianming's aura exploded. Prince Chunjiu's crown prince and the others who were rushing over were sent flying. Air. When the elites of the 5 cities' warden's office heard the commotion, they saw Prince Chunjiu and the others being sent flying before they could rush into the private room. They were immediately shocked. How dare you hurt the crown prince? Catch him. A group of people rushed towards Yi Qianming. The latter stared at them coldly. The aura around his body surged, and he flew out with a boom. In an instant, the entire restaurant was shrouded in that terrifying aura. Everyone was so shocked that they couldn't move. The next second, rumble. One by one, the aura of power exploded. Terrifying energy waves swept out in an instant, almost destroying the entire restaurant. Under such power, no one had the ability to resist. Everyone looked at the figure floating in the sky with fear in their eyes. It was as if he was a celestial being. Not far away, Luo Qingtong turned around to take a look. She was so frightened that she quickened her pace. Chapter 198. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Luo Qingtong dashed through the alleyways. Under the effect of her eye technique, the alleys she chose were all inconspicuous. They were hard to find at first glance, but were also very easy to hide in. Luo Qingtong was confident that even if Yi Qianxian chased after her, he wouldn't be able to find her. That scared me to death. I almost couldn't get out. She patted her chest with a face full of lingering fear. That man is becoming more and more difficult to deal with. But, he clearly saw through my identity this time, so why didn't he capture me? Why did he play a role-playing game with me? Luo Qingtong recalled Yi Qianxian's expression when she drank with him, and her thoughts were inexplicably distracted. That man, it's actually pretty good to get along with him like this. But who knows if he's having a fit? Compared to placing her life and freedom in someone else's hands, Luo Qingtong preferred to have it in her own hands. Phew. I don't know how that man discovered my identity. Luo Qingtong stepped on the green bricks, green tiles, and red walls, and in an instant, her figure flew dozens of meters away. Many people didn't even see her figure. Those who saw her thought it was an illusion and just passed by in a flash. Could it be that time when I was treated in the bathhouse? Luo Qingtong thought for a long time, and that was the only possibility. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched when she thought about how she probed the man's body again and again out of curiosity. The energy she brought back almost made her explode. Could it be that at that time, she also left a trace of her energy in that man's body, so he was able to confirm her identity? Damn it, the evils she brought on herself were the hardest to bear. Luo Qingtong felt depressed in her heart. It's always like this. One day, she'll be played to death by her own curiosity. At this moment, Little Pig, who was suffocating to death in her sleeve, finally made a move. Oh my God, you almost scared me to death. Master, Ancestor. Can we stop playing like this? That man is really not to be trifled with. Don't provoke him anymore. It was really an accident. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. She didn't know that the man had seen through her identity. Otherwise, she would definitely avoid him. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. I'll take you to get some treasures. Take out a few more of your junk. When it's full, I'll give you one. One is too little, there should be at least 2. Little Pig muttered as he suddenly came to a realization. Wait, a storage ring of a few hundred square meters isn't enough for you. Where are you going? It had been holding its breath and hadn't noticed Luo Qingtong's soul-searching. Of course it's to rob. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up as she spoke. He flew towards the imperial palace of the Tianyu Empire. At the same time, in the restaurant. Rumble. Yi Qianming's figure was high up in the air. His aura raged and instantly killed all the elites of the 5 cities' warden's office. His expression was ice-cold. Under Prince Chunjo's horrified gaze, he immediately lifted him up through the air. "What did she say to you?" Prince Chunjo's body trembled. At this time, how could he not know that he had been deceived by that enchanting youth? Chapter 199. Prince Chunjo's heart was filled with an indescribable desire to cry. He trembled as he recounted everything that Luo Qingtong told them. In an instant, Yi Qianming's aura became as terrifying as the purgatory of the netherworld. Boom! The energy in his hands suddenly exploded. In an instant, the wall near him was blasted into powder from top to bottom. The entire restaurant collapsed in an instant. Evil eye. Yi Qianming's face was dark to the extreme. His every word seemed to carry a monstrous anger that swept through the sky, making people tremble in fear just by sensing it. That pure 9th Prince Crown Prince instantly cried out, rolled his eyes and fainted. Yi Qianming raised his hand and coldly threw him outside. He didn't make a move to kill him. This kind of trash didn't need to dirty his hands. Only that woman. That evil eye. Yi Qianming felt the veins on his forehead bulging as he thought about it. That woman was too hateful. She couldn't wait to get rid of him. She even dared to lie like this. Yi Qianming's heart was filled with anger. He took several deep breaths, but he still couldn't calm the anger in his heart. That woman, in order to escape from his hands, she really could do anything. She really angered him to death. Yi Qianming was even angrier. That woman kept saying that she admired him, but when it was time to escape, she ran faster than a rabbit. She was that afraid of him. She couldn't wait to escape from him. Thinking about how he foolishly believed that woman's words and thought that she really admired him, Yi Qianming felt that he couldn't hold back the anger in his heart. That woman, don't let me catch her again. Otherwise. Otherwise what? When Yi Qianming said this, his angry words paused for a moment. Break her legs, break her wings, and imprison her by his side. He didn't know why, but when he thought of this possibility, Yi Qianming's heart felt uncomfortable. He thought about how cunning and quick-witted that woman was, and how she looked extremely willful and evil. He thought about the various expressions she had when she met him. He thought about how all these would disappear from that woman in the future, leaving behind only a dull and obedient expression. He didn't know why, but his heart was very conflicted. That woman, although she was rebellious and had offended him in various ways, if Yi Qianming really wanted to harm her, he could have done it a long time ago. But, he couldn't bear to. Yes, he couldn't bear to. Yi Qianming's furious emotions suddenly froze. He suddenly realized that there was something wrong with his way of thinking. He couldn't bear to harm that woman. Yi Qianming's heart felt uncomfortable. How could he have such a thought? With his status and strength, how could he bear to harm's will? Moreover, a woman who had offended him. But if Yi Qianming really wanted to do something to that woman, the only thing he could think of was to capture her. As for what to do with her, he would have to. Yi Qianming's mind suddenly flashed with the words that Bei Qing said to Feng Yu, "Do you think that our master really likes the evil doctor?" Likes? He likes that woman. Chapter 200. At this moment, Bei Qing and Feng Yu rushed up to him. "Master, the Tianyu imperial family is on their way here. We can't expose your identity." Yi Qianren was startled awake by their words and instantly broke away from the shocking thoughts that she had. However, the thought just now was deeply imprinted in his heart. I like that woman, so that's why. I like that woman. That's why I can't bear to hurt her. Yi Qianren's entire being was suddenly enlightened. He was very resistant to the word like and never thought that he would like anyone, but that woman, if it's that woman, Yi Qianren thought that it was not that he could not accept it. Let's go. Yi Qianqian's eyes were deep. Since he already understood his own feelings, he wasn't the kind of person who was pretentious and overcautious. If he liked her, he would get her. It was that woman who provoked him first. Since that was the case, she had to bear the consequences. He wouldn't let her escape. As long as she was still in the imperial capital of the Tianyu Empire, he would be able to find her. With a faint smile on his face, Yi Qianqian's eyes darkened. With a swoosh, he disappeared into the ruins of the hotel. Bei Qing and Feng Yu hurriedly followed him. At the same time, in the Tianyu Imperial Palace, Luo Qingtong was flying with Little Pig. Her speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, she had entered the depths of the Tianyu Imperial Palace. Little Pig was flabbergasted as he watched her bypass one sentry post after another without any hesitation. He almost doubted if there was something wrong with his eyes. Oh my God, can this woman be any more powerful? How did she know where those sentry posts were? Furthermore, there were even some martial emperor realm experts among them. Little Pig didn't know how Luo Qingtong knew where they were and how she cleverly avoided them. Those were martial king realm experts. Before Little Pig could finish his thoughts, he saw Luo Qingtong dodge a martial king realm expert sentry post. How did she do it? Little Pig was going crazy. Forget about the martial king. She was actually able to discover where the martial emperor was hiding and avoid him. One had to know that Luo Qingtong herself was only a martial general. Was this woman trying to defy the heavens? Holy sh*t. Little Pig's eyes were filled with shock as he watched Luo Qingtong effortlessly find the location of Tianyu Empire's imperial treasury and successfully sneak into the inner circle. It no longer wanted to find out how this woman did it. He was simply a monster. And it was the kind that was on par with that man. No wonder she could escape from that man again and again. What should we do now? After sneaking into the periphery, Luo Qingtong encountered a problem. In addition to the endless number of sentries and restrictions surrounding the royal treasury, there was actually an extremely special energy lock installed on the door of the treasury. Only the direct descendants of Tianyu's royal family could enter. Tisk. Luo Qingtong frowned. Originally, he thought that as long as he broke through the restriction, he would be able to enter the treasury, take the items, and leave. He didn't expect Tianyu's royal family to be so cautious. They even set up an energy lock. This kind of lock was made with a special energy that could automatically detect whether the person entering was a direct descendant of Tianyu's royal family. Chapter 201. Let's go. After thinking for a while, Luo Qingtong turned around and left decisively. Little Pig was dumbfounded. Ah. She left just like that. She let the imperial family of Tianyu go. This wasn't like this woman's style. Of course not. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She let the imperial family of Tianyu go just like that. Dream on. They must pay the price. Let's go find the key. Since it was a lock, there must be a key. Luo Qingtong didn't believe that the imperial family of Tianyu didn't have a backup plan in such an important place like the imperial treasury. This was the imperial family of a super empire. The treasures and resources inside were so abundant that they could easily build a country like Dongli country. If the imperial family of Tianyu suffered a calamity, wouldn't they want to rely on these treasures to make a comeback? Therefore, there must be another way to open it except for the imperial family. Luo Qingtong's figure flitted through the imperial palace. It didn't take long for her to find the information about the imperial treasury. This was the frightening part of an ocular sorcerer. As long as Luo Qingtong didn't do anything, she could easily find the hidden place where no one could find it. Even Yi Qianxian couldn't find her with his divine sense, let alone the guards of Tianyu Empire. Under her gaze, the strict defense of the imperial palace of the Tianyu Empire was a joke. As long as Luo Qingtong wanted to, she could come and go as she pleased. Of course, the premise was that she didn't do anything and didn't expose her aura. Otherwise, the experts in Tianyu Imperial Palace would have sensed it immediately. Prince Chunzhou, Luo Qingtong murmured the information she found and her lips twitched. What kind of ill-fated relationship was this? She had just schemed against Prince Chunzhou and made him find trouble with Yi Qianxian. She didn't even know if he was still alive or not. She wanted to scheme against his father again. This Prince Chunzhou's family must have F***ed with the heavens. Otherwise, how could they be so unlucky? But even so, Luo Qingtong still quickly turned around and rushed out of the palace. Every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost. Moreover, this father and son pair were not good people. One bullied men and tyrannized women, while the other aided the tyrant. Luo Qingtong didn't feel guilty at all when she set up the other party. We're all the same, so there's no need to talk about innocence. It was just a case of the winner taking all. When Luo Qingtong left the imperial palace to look for Prince Chunzhou, Yi Qianxian and Bei Qingfeng also returned to where they were staying. Master, your subordinate is incompetent. I was unable to stop the evil doctor. As soon as they returned, Bei Qing and Feng Yu knelt down and begged for forgiveness. They didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be so daring. By the time they came back to their senses, they had already lost track of the youth. Thinking of this, Bei Qing and Feng Yu both felt annoyed. Especially Bei Qing. She almost asked Yi Qianxian to go back to the brothel to receive punishment. No matter. That woman is treacherous and cunning. Even if you chase after her, you may not be able to make her stay. Yi Qianxian snorted coldly. Although he understood his intentions, it didn't mean that he wouldn't pursue what Luo Qingtong had done before. That woman was really treacherous and cunning. How could he not teach her a lesson? Especially this time, she actually dared to sell him to someone like Prince Chunzhou. Thinking of this, Yi Qianxian's expression couldn't help but darken. Chapter 202. Master. Bei Qing and Feng Yu were shocked when they saw Yi Qianxian's actions. Was their master going to use that method that would consume a lot of energy? Did the evil doctor make him so angry? That method was even more damaging. If their master used it, he would be weakened for a long time. Was it worth it to do this for an evil doctor? Master, the evil doctor is missing. We can look for her slowly. Why do you have to? Bei Qing couldn't continue his sentence. Yi Qianxian stared at him coldly and said, Bei Qing, you've crossed the line. It's not up to you to meddle in my affairs. Master. Bei Qing wanted to say something, but Feng Yu stopped him. Master, Bei Qing was just anxious. Master, using this method to search for someone will consume a lot of energy. Once you use it, your strength will drop by 50% within half a year. Not only that, but your strength will disappear 4 hours after you use it. Master, you don't have to worry about yourself, but Bei Qing and I can't ignore you. Master, please reconsider. As Feng Yu spoke, she pulled Bei Qing to kneel in front of Yi Qianxian. Yes, Master. With your current identity, you can't lose your strength. Otherwise. Bei Qing said anxiously. Before he could finish, Yi Qianxian raised his hand and stopped him. That's enough. You don't have to say any more. I have to find that woman. That woman was extremely cunning. She must have guessed that he had seen through her identity after she escaped from the restaurant. Under such circumstances, if he did not use his blood to search for her, he would not know where she would run to in the future. Yi Qianxian finally understood his feelings. Even if it was not for his injuries, he had to find that woman for the sake of his feelings. That woman. When they heard Yi Qianxian's words, Bei Qing and Feng Yu, who were ready to die to persuade him, were stunned. Wasn't their master looking for the evil doctor? How did she become that woman? The only person who could make his master speak with such a helpless tone was the young girl from the Nine Magi Mountain. The evil doctor is the girl we're looking for. Bei Qing's eyes widened. The fact that the evil medic had turned from an old man to a young man was already shocking enough. Now, his master was telling him that the evil medic was the young girl they had been looking for all this time. No wonder master's attitude towards him was so different. But how could the evil doctor be a young girl? Bei Qing's lips twitched as she recalled Luo Qingtong's every move as an evil doctor. He could not believe that the evil doctor was actually a woman. That devilish aura was overflowing, and her carefree and unrestrained appearance was nothing like a woman. Especially today, he actually sold his master to that Prince Chunzhou's heir as an escort. Such a person was actually a woman. Or was it the woman they had been looking for who could heal their master's injuries? Bei Qing's lips twitched even harder. Feng Yu was very surprised as well. Even though he did not think like Bei Qing that Yi Qianxian had feelings for the evil doctor, he did not expect the evil doctor to be a woman. And the person they had been looking for all this time. While the two of them were still in shock, Yi Qianxian had already started to move. He stabbed his finger into his chest and instantly forced out a drop of blood from his heart. He raised his hand and flicked it onto that strand of hair. Whoosh! In an instant, a ripple-like image appeared in front of Yi Qianxian. Chapter 203. Tianyu Empire's imperial capital, Yingchun Mansion. Luo Qingtong squatted outside the mansion and finally confirmed that Prince Chunzhou had entered the Hundred Flowers mansion. Like father, like son. Prince Chunzhou's son was most likely a hedonistic and willful son of Prince Chunzhou. His son had already been beaten half to death, yet he still came to this red light district to look for prostitutes. He was really a good father in a different world. However, Prince Chunzhou had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. The reason why she came here was because she had searched everywhere in Prince Chunzhou's mansion but couldn't find the location of the key to the treasury. It seemed that Prince Chunzhou carried it with him. Seeing Prince Chunzhou swagger inside, Luo Qingtong's eyes turned slightly and followed him inside. She used the trace of power left by Tian Mingzi in her eyes and walked in without any hindrance. Seeing such a handsome and enchanting young man walking over, the guards and servants of Yingchun Mansion were stunned. They hurriedly bowed and politely welcomed Luo Qingtong inside. "Oh, this young master, may I know what kind of girl you are looking for?" Luo Qingtong attracted the attention of everyone when she walked in. After all, her snow-white and devastatingly beautiful face was even more beautiful than the most beautiful courtesan. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong's temperament that didn't seem like a girl's, some people couldn't help but want to strike up a conversation with her. Even so, there were still people who kept looking at her. Such an enchanting and gorgeous young man, even if he wasn't a girl, they were still willing to spend a night with him. Prince Chunzhou's gaze was the same. "Come. Go invite that red-clothed young man who just walked in. This prince wants to treat him to a drink." While speaking, he pushed the woman lying on top of him, causing the latter to fall down crying. "Prince." Before she could finish her words, she was impatiently dragged away by Prince Chunzhou's guards. They had seen too many of the women around Prince Chunzhou. Which one of them didn't throw them away when they got tired of them? These top courtesans of Yingchun brothel had all been with the prince for a long time. But even so, His Highness still lost it just like that. These people did not show any mercy to the fairer sex, and their actions attracted many people to look over. When they saw that it was Chunzhou, they quickly averted their eyes and didn't dare to continue watching. Luo Qingtong also took this opportunity to look at Prince Chunzhou. Before she could figure out how to get the key from Chunzhou, one of the guards walked towards her. "Young master, our prince invites you." As he spoke, he raised his hand and spread it out in front of him. His gesture of invitation was indescribably unyielding. Luo Qingtong smiled when she saw that he was ordering her rather than inviting her. "Sure." Her gaze was playful. She thought that she would have to think of a way to get close to this Prince Chunzhou. She didn't expect that the other party would send himself to her door. Seeing Prince Chunzhou's hungry wolf-like gaze, Luo Qingtong revealed an enchanting and evil smile. There was no way around it if people wanted to court death. Since the other party sent himself to her door, it would be impolite for her to refuse. Chapter 204. Along the way, many people kept looking at her, but Luo Qingtong didn't care. She and the guard stopped in front of Prince Chunzhou and gave him a salute with a smile. "Prince Chunzhouan. This one has admired Prince Chunzhou for a long time. I didn't expect to have the opportunity to see Prince Chunzhou here. It's really an honor." Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Prince Chunzhou was surprised and happy. He was just thinking about what to do if this young man resisted when he called him over. Should he use the hard way first and then the soft way, or should he use both? He didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be so tactful. He didn't even open his mouth to say what he wanted and the young man took the initiative to approach. Of course, a forceful melon isn't as sweet as taking the initiative. Thinking of this, Prince Chunzhou looked at Luo Qingtong with a different gaze. No, this prince also fell in love with you at first sight. I didn't expect Gongzi to be interested in me as well. Such a beautiful scene, why don't we?" Prince Chunzhou looked at Luo Qingtong with a meaningful look. "Why don't we go into the room and talk? Enjoy the boundless moonlight together." Luo Qingtong answered with a smile. She said everything that Prince Chunzhou wanted to say and didn't say. Prince Chunzhou's heart was rippling. He didn't expect this young man to be so proactive. This is good. This is very good. It saves him the trouble of using tricks. Prince Chunzhou was different from his son. He didn't like to use hard methods. He felt that it was too degrading. Seeing Luo Qingtong taking the initiative to approach him, he couldn't hide the joy on his face. Good. Then let's go into the room and talk. Enjoy the boundless moonlight together. This prince has a good treasure. I'll show it to you when the time comes. It's thick and long. I guarantee you'll like it." Prince Chunzhou's words were incomparably rippling. When the surrounding guards heard this, they all had tacit expressions on their faces. Prince Chunzhou was about to get what he wanted. TSK, they didn't know if this young man could stand the prince's wolf-like behavior. Okay. Luo Qingtong looked at Chunzhou with a meaningful smile. I also think that I will be very satisfied with the prince's treasure. Of course she liked the key to the royal treasury. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Prince Chunzhou felt more and more that the young man in front of him was gorgeous and unrestrained. His beauty was indescribable and simply tickled his heart. He grabbed Luo Qingtong's hand and said, "In that case, let's not waste this beautiful scenery." As he spoke, he took the young man's hand and was about to walk into the private room. "Your Highness really can't wait." Luo Qingtong smiled as she shook off his hand. "But that's exactly what I was thinking." "Then let's get started, Your Highness. Quickly get the key to the royal treasury." Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. Paw! Yi Qianming crushed the water mirror in front of him. That woman! Yi Qianming was so angry that his face darkened. The image of Luo Qingtong smiling at Prince Chunzhou kept appearing in his mind. With a swish, he disappeared from the courtyard. Master! Seeing Yi Qianming's figure suddenly disappear in front of them, Bei Qing and Feng Yu were startled. Master's strength had almost disappeared by half. It was too dangerous for him to leave alone at this time. Quick! Find Master quickly. The two of them hurriedly rushed out. At the same time, in the spring pavilion. Chapter 205. Bang! Prince Chuanzhou was pushed aside by Luo Qingtong. You! Before he could get angry, Luo Qingtong said with a smile, Your Highness, it's not good to be so impatient. She looked Prince Chuanzhou up and down with an enchanting smile. Your Highness, are you sure you don't need to take a bath first? The young man's face was gorgeous. He flicked his sleeves with one hand and played with the celadone cup on the table with the other. Prince Chuanzhou felt half of his body was going to go limp when he looked at the young man with a smile. He wasn't particularly interested in men. He only had such thoughts when he saw some outstanding boys. But at this moment, looking at the enchanting young man in red in front of him, Prince Chuanzhou only felt that all the women in the world would be overshadowed by him. This young man was like a demon, like a fox. He was really unforgettable. Good. Good. Take a bath. Take a bath. Prince Chuanzhou looked at Luo Qingtong with infatuation. His heart was beating so fast that it was about to fly away. He didn't care about what she did just now. Such an enchanting young man, even if he was a little rude and unbridled, it didn't matter. What's more, the way the young man refused just now was like a spoiled cat. As Chuanzhou fantasized, he rushed into the bathroom in the cubicle. This room was built by the Yingchen house to please the customers. There were all kinds of furnishings inside, and a bathtub was naturally a must for the taste. Luo Qingtong let Prince Chuanzhou take a bath, of course, not because she wanted to develop something with him. She wanted to see where the key was most likely to be hidden. When Luo Qingtong came to find Prince Chuanzhou, she had already turned all the places related to him upside down. She was very sure that the key was on him at this moment. As for where it was hidden, it depended on what he was determined to keep it with him. According to Luo Qingtong's guess, the key was very likely to be a storage magic treasure, which was on Prince Chuanzhou's body at this moment. After all, the royal warehouse of the Tianyu Empire wasn't an ordinary place. It was the biggest foundation and reliance of the royal family of the Tianyu Empire. It couldn't be placed casually. Luo Qingtong thought. She glanced at Prince Chuanzhou's chest and saw a light silver chain without exception. Judging from Chuanzhou's physique, the chain didn't fit him at all. Luo Qingtong fixed her eyes on the chain and secretly used her Do technique. At this moment, Prince Chuanzhou, who had quickly taken off his clothes and was only left with his underwear, turned around and saw Luo Qingtong staring at his chest. His heart skipped a beat and he raised his hand to pull Luo Qingtong away. Come here. Let's take a bath together. Let's take a bath. At this moment Prince Chuanzhou she had a target. She withdrew her eye technique and her lips twitched when she heard Prince Chuanzhou's words. Wasn't that what she said when she tricked that man earlier? She was inexplicably nervous for a moment. She thought that the man had come to find her. Let's end this quickly. She thought that the man was now in the imperial city of the Tianyu Empire. Who knew when he would come again? She'd better leave as soon as possible. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong avoided Prince Chuanzhou's hand and secretly used her Do technique. Get off me. Take it by yourself. She raised her hand to take off the chain hanging on Prince Chuanzhou's chest. Chapter 206. Who is it? The guard of Prince Chuanzhou's residence asked. This was the courtyard specially prepared for Prince Chuanzhou by Spring Pavilion. It was specially made to cater to the latter's interests. Other than Prince Chunzhou, no one else was allowed to enter. Seeing Yi Qianming suddenly appear in front of them, the guards were all shocked. However, as soon as they spoke, there was a series of muffled sounds. Their bodies exploded into pieces of flesh and blood. Yi Qianming's eyes were cold as he stepped into the courtyard, leaving behind a mess of blood. Bang! Yi Qianming came to the main room in the center of the courtyard and vaguely heard vague sounds of pleasure coming from inside. When he heard that voice, his originally gloomy face instantly darkened a few degrees. He had heard similar sounds before. Those who wanted to climb into his bed would make such sounds when they seduced him or were aroused. Thinking that there was only Luo Qingtong and Prince Chunzhou inside, Yi Qianming lifted his foot and kicked open the door of the room. In the room, Luo Qingtong figured out the use of the silver chain. She looked up and saw Prince Chunzhou rubbing against the side of the bath like a male dog in heat. She suddenly felt disgusted and lifted her foot to kick him into the bath. A piece of trash, how dare he covet her? One had to know that Chunzhou was affected by Luo Qing's eye technique. Everything he did was what he wanted to do the most. However, with his soul being taken away, he had no consciousness and could only act on instinct. In other words, what Prince Chunzhou was doing now was what he wanted to do to Luo Qingtong in his mind. Splash! When this sound was heard, the door outside was also kicked open with a bang. Luo Qingtong was startled. She thought that the guards had sensed something and rushed in to check. She subconsciously jumped into the bath and pretended that she was bathing with Prince Chunzhou. Who is it? I'm blind, cough cough cough. Luo Qingtong stuck her head out of the water and shouted. However, when she saw the figure outside, she suddenly choked on a lot of water. Oh my God! How could it be that man? How did he find this place? Luo Qingtong looked at the man standing at the entrance of the courtyard like a demon god. She was shocked. It could only be described as 10,000 horses galloping. She subconsciously turned around to run. However, no matter how fast she moved, Yi Qianming was even faster. The moment she moved, Yi Qianming's body rushed into the water. Bang! He grabbed Luo Qingtong's hands and pressed her against the edge of the bathtub. Her entire body was facing upwards, her hands were folded together and pressed above her head. Her slender waist was held by the man with one hand, and her back was knocked against the edge of the bathtub. Because of this action, her upper body was forced up high. Yi Qianming pressed his body on top of hers and looked at her coldly. What are you doing here with him? Yi Qianming's face darkened. As soon as he entered this place, he smelled a strong scent of desire. Although he knew that nothing would happen to this treacherous woman, he still couldn't help but ask. Luo Qingtong was thinking about how to break free from Yi Qianming's grip and escape successfully. When she heard this, she immediately said without thinking, "Playing." She replied straightforwardly, but Yi Qianming's face instantly darkened. Playing? His eyes were cold, playing with something thick and long. You're really in the mood. You don't even let go of such a thing. Chapter 207. Thinking of the words he heard in the water mirror, Yi Qianming's heart burned with anger. It was fine if this woman treated him this way. But she still used the same method to treat others. Was she so shameless? Yi Qianming didn't know what he was angry about, but when he thought of how Luo Qingtong treated him the same as others, he felt a burst of anger in his heart. This woman even said that she admired him. In the end, she didn't know how many times she had said this to others. The more Yi Qianming thought about it, the angrier he became. He raised his hand and was about to lift Luo Qingtong up. The latter was already stunned by his words. Wow, thick and long. How did this man know? Could it be that he really could fly in the sky and burrow into the ground and was omnipotent? Just when Luo Qingtong almost choked on her own saliva, she felt Yi Qianming's movements. Her heart suddenly trembled and she quickly regained her senses. No. She couldn't be caught by this man. Whether it was losing her life contract with the little pig or being caught by this man to teach her a lesson, Luo Qingtong didn't want this. Her freedom and life could only be controlled by herself, and could never be controlled by anyone else. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light. Yes. I just like thick and long things. What's wrong? It was just that this thick and long thing was different. Who didn't like the key to the treasury? She didn't mind a few more. But even though she thought this in her heart, Luo Qingtong deliberately said it in an ambiguous tone. She raised her eyebrows slightly and took advantage of Yi Qianming's position to lean towards the man. Lord cares so much and can't wait to rush over. Could it be that you're jealous? Or does the Honorable Lord want to replace him? Since her identity had already been seen through by the other party and she was caught on the spot, Luo Qingtong simply revealed Yi Qianming's identity. She smiled enchantingly and approached Yi Qianming. The young man's appearance was both male and female, charming and enchanting, giving people an indescribable sense of beauty that was hard to distinguish between a man and a woman. It was a kind of temperament that was emitted from the inside out. It was fatal like a tempting poppy flower, and it was filled with a demonic aura of temptation. Yi Qianming watched in a daze. His grip on Luo Qingtong loosened slightly. Sensing that his strength had loosened, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light, and the smile on her face became even more enchanting and wanton. Actually, Lord really likes it when I do this, right? As she spoke, her entire body was pressed tightly against Yi Qianming. In the past, the man would have pushed her away. Yi Qianming didn't like people getting close to him and he didn't like people touching him even more. But this woman, Yi Qianming looked at Luo Qingtong's face that was getting closer and closer. His expression didn't change, but the light in his eyes was getting deeper and deeper. At this moment, Luo Qingtong pulled her hands out of the man's grasp. Yi Qianming's eyes flashed fiercely. Just as he was about to move, Luo Qingtong hugged his neck. Lord also seems to be looking forward to it. Since that's the case. Luo Qingtong approached him with an enchanting smile. In the next second, the bloody light in her eyes flashed and she jumped back. Bang! Luo Qingtong hit 3 air walls. I knew you wouldn't be so obedient. Yi Qianming snorted coldly. She deliberately seduced him and lowered his vigilance so that she could take the opportunity to escape. She really thought that he was defenseless. Chapter 208. Her warm touch clung to his cold skin. That sweet scent flowed from the place where their lips were pressed together. Yi Qianqian's eyes were filled with shock. He never expected that the moment Luo Qingtong hit the air wall, she would use the air wall as a stepping board and leap towards him. Yi Qianxian had always been on guard against Luo Qingtong's tricks. This woman was treacherous and cunning. She was as cunning as a fox and as cunning as a demon. Yi Qianxian told himself that no matter what tricks this woman played, he would never let his guard down. He would never give her a chance to escape. Therefore, even when Luo Qingtong was so tempting, his mind had always been clear. But who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would make such a move? Yi Qianxian had always thought that Luo Qingtong wanted to escape, and he had always been on guard against her. However, no one would have thought that her escape was only a facade. Her target was actually him. Yi Qianxian was caught off guard and was fully embraced by Luo Qingtong. When those soft and fragrant lips were pressed against his mind instantly went blank. The man held great power and influence. His power was world-shaking and boundless. Before today, he had never thought that there would be a day when he would be forcefully kissed by someone. Moreover, he couldn't reject it. If it had been anyone else, they would have been sent flying the moment they pounced on him. But Yi Qianxian subconsciously restrained his violent aura the moment Luo Qingtong pounced on him. He didn't have time to think about the special treatment he had for Luo Qingtong and the implications of his subconscious action. The girl's soft and fragrant tongue had already slid into his mouth from his slightly opened lips. Buzz! Yi Qianxian had originally regained some clarity of mind, but because of Luo Qingtong's action, he instantly became muddled again. He had wanted to push her away, but now he was hugging her tightly. Yi Qianxian's innate sense of power and male instincts allowed him to quickly turn the tables the moment Luo Qingtong invaded his mouth. He went from plundering to counter-plundering. He grabbed Luo Qingtong's waist with his big hand and lifted her onto his body with a strong force. Yi Qianxian was standing in the middle of the bathtub. With a height of nearly 1.9 meters, even if the man was standing in the bathtub, the water would only reach his crotch. His clothes were more than half wet from rushing into the bathtub just now. At this moment, the high-quality material of the clothes displayed its excellent water absorption and adhesion. It clung tightly to the man's body, perfectly outlining his broad back and strong and powerful figure. Because of the chase with Luo Qingtong just now, the front of Yi Qianxian's shirt was slightly open, revealing his sexy collarbone and strong chest. Luo Qingtong was pulled up and straddled his waist. Her entire body was pressed tightly against his. From the side, the two figures were entangled and ambiguous. The tall and handsome man and the devilishly gorgeous young man reflected the silhouettes of the two under the bathtub's light. It was as beautiful as a painting. But very quickly, this picturesque scene was broken. You! Yi Qianxian's body suddenly stiffened. He stood in the bathtub and looked angrily at Luo Qingtong, who had struggled out of his arms. He couldn't tell if he was more angry or reluctant. Chapter 209. Yi Qianxian's heart was filled with anger, but Luo Qingtong's heart was filled with depression. Phew! She struggled out of Yi Qianxian's embrace. The first thing she did was to take deep breaths. Wasn't this man's kissing technique a bit too good? She almost couldn't breathe and fainted from his kiss. If that was really the case, then she shouldn't even think about running away. She could only wait for this man to catch her. It was so scary. His reaction was clearly very inexperienced at the beginning. Luo Qingtong thought as she gritted her teeth in anger. Could it be that this kind of thing could be self-taught? As she thought gloomily, she couldn't help but raise her hand to slap her cheeks. The youth's face was crimson red, and his eyes were filled with the amorous feelings of spring. His evilness revealed his beauty. As Yi Qianxian watched, his body felt cold and hot. He couldn't describe what he was feeling. Let go of this sovereign, he said with a cold gaze. In his heart, he secretly made up his mind. As long as he could break free from the shackles and catch this woman, the first thing he would do was to tie her 4 limbs up. Let's see what kind of trouble she can cause. Yi Qianxian didn't know how this woman could play so many tricks. Moreover, it wasn't the same every time. It was simply impossible to guard against. How is this possible? Luo Qingtong looked at him with the corners of her eyes slightly raised. Because that pair of sparkling eyes were still filled with the light of spring, it was exceptionally dazzling and captivating. Let go of you and let you catch me again, Luo Qingtong said as she lightly adjusted her red clothes. She walked in front of Yi Qianxian and patted his face with a smile. That won't do. My lord, you'd better stay here obediently. You'll be able to move in 2 hours. Don't worry, this acupoint sealing technique won't harm you at all. In fact, it's beneficial to you. I say, you're too careless. Every time I bump into you, you're either covered in injuries or a pile of injuries. This time, you've directly crippled half of your strength. Fortunately, you met me. Otherwise, let's see what you're going to do. Luo Qingtong didn't know what this man was thinking. You're still running around outside with half your strength crippled. If it wasn't for the fact that she had discovered this earlier, she wouldn't have thought of sealing his acupoints to prevent him from escaping. One had to know that with this man's strength, it was almost impossible for her to successfully hit his acupuncture points. It was only because he had wasted more than half of his strength, coupled with the fact that she was familiar with the weakest parts of his meridians and had forcefully kissed him, causing his mind to waver, causing him to let his guard down, that they were able to succeed. Otherwise, he would definitely die here. Yi Qianxian ignored her. Who did she think caused his strength to be crippled by more than half? If it wasn't for her, would he have gone through so much trouble? Yi Qianxian's eyes were cold as he circulated the energy in his body. However, the strange thing was that no matter how he probed, he couldn't find any other power in his body. This woman, what kind of method did she use to restrict his movements and make him unable to investigate? Yi Qianxian felt indescribably depressed. I'll say it again. Let go. His voice became colder and colder. It was like the snowy plains of the northern kingdom, where thousands of miles of snow were falling. I'm not letting go. Luo Qingtong wasn't afraid of him. This man was just a paper tiger right now. He was just shouting fiercely. If she really let him go, she would be the one who would die. I say, don't waste your time. This is a unique acupoint sealing technique that I created. With the condition of your meridians, you won't be able to undo it. It'll be fine when the time comes. Chapter 210. Luo Qingtong pondered for a moment before jumping into the water and carrying him onto the bed. The water in the bathtub was too cold. It was fine to soak for a while. But if he soaked for too long, he would inevitably fall sick. Especially since this man's meridians were not good and his strength was suppressed by her, he could not use his strength to protect his body. At that time, the injury to his meridians would definitely worsen. Luo Qingtong had no intention to become enemies with this man. Moreover, although this man had schemed to catch her, he had never hurt her. He even helped her resolve several crises. All right. She had tricked him. But this could be considered as helping her. Therefore, Luo Qingtong did not want to hurt him. Enough. Luo Qingtong moved step by step and threw Yi Qianxian onto the bed. She was almost paralyzed. So heavy. Why did you grow so tall and strong? She was about to be crushed to death. Originally, she saw his tall and thin body and thought that he was not heavy. She did not expect. Yi Qianxian looked at her disgusted expression and the veins on his forehead were about to explode. He looked away and did not want to pay attention to her. He was really going to be angered to death by this woman. What made Yi Qianxian even angrier was that the kiss just now was just a part of this woman's plan. It was just a plan. She did not want to kiss him. And he still, Yi Qianxian was half dead from anger. Luo Qingtong's mood was indescribably good. After settling Yi Qianxian, Luo Qingtong thought for a moment and jumped into the bathtub. She fished Prince Chunjiu out and woke him up. Then, she directly used her eye technique to give him a psychological hint and let him continue what he was doing just now by the side of the bathtub. This way, if there was someone who was worried and came to check, this side could be deceived. As for the dead guards outside, Yi Qianxian killed them too cleanly. Luo Qingtong did not need to clean them up. Just cover up the blood on the ground. After settling everything, Luo Qingtong licked her lips and waved at Yi Qianxian who was lying on the bed with his eyes closed. She smiled and said, "Goodbye, Sir Lord. I'll never see you again." Luo Qingtong laughed happily, but Yi Qianxian's blood vessels were about to burst. After Luo Qingtong left, he opened his eyes and looked at Prince Chunjiu, who was rubbing himself to the point that he was about to bleed. Then, he heard the moans that stung his ears and eyes. His heart was filled with anger. It was about to explode. That woman. Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth. But when he thought of the kiss just now, his body felt a little hot. Yi Qianxian had never seen a woman like Luo Qingtong in his entire life. It was really, Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth and couldn't find an accurate word to describe that woman. After dealing with Yi Qianxian, Luo Qingtong changed her clothes and easily left Chunlu. Prince Chunjiu's guards were almost all killed in an instant. Not even the slightest bit of news spread. And no one dared to disturb Prince Chunjiu's pleasure. Luo Qingtong estimated that until dawn, no one would find out what happened to Prince Chunjiu. She had enough time to empty the treasury of Tianyu's imperial family. By then, she could leave easily. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong was very satisfied. She jumped and rushed in the direction of Tianyu's imperial palace. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.